Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Octavian. Welcome back to another episode of 100 Casts. I haven't been able to get around to this series as much as I'd like to. What is happening? Well, Wixark just kind of wandering up to the turret, taking a few shots there. Probably going to head on back to base. Maybe he was just spamming right-click on the minimap without really watching the screen. Thankfully, the Vygar who was standing right next to him didn't actually notice what he had done. Probably had the shop open, or maybe was alt-tabbed out because it is the first minute of the game. But it looks like that's really not going to add up to more than just a little bit of confusion on my part, as the, as the Vel'Koz does indeed head on home back to base, and is going to be coming back to the mid lane with really nothing lost. But, anyways, this is 100 Cast. This is the series where I started my shoutcasting, and there are some newer faces around the channel, and I haven't been able to put out an episode in this series for maybe a week, maybe a bit longer than that. I'm not entirely sure. Essentially, what I do with this series is people send me their replays of a solo queue, maybe even a normals game of their own, and it can be from any level. I've shoutcasted in this series everything from Bronze 5, 20 LP, all the way up to the top 50 Challenger players, top 50 best players on the North American server. So, this series is not the place to go if you want incredibly high-level gameplay with my voice commentating over it. It's also a series mainly used for my own practice, as we see the tumble forward, however, turning around, Clarion actually leaving right onto FTW Swag, who's forced to flash away as the exhaust is used. And that's going to be a bit of a problem, honestly, for FTW Swag. There is a lot of potential aggression coming out from this Leona down in the bottom side. The Spell Shield is a powerful tool against a Leona, but you can only drop the Spell Shield onto one person, and Vayne does not have a very good laning phase in the first place, especially matched up against somebody like Ezreal, who's able to bully out that laning phase pretty well with the long-ranged Qs, and of course he's a longer-ranged auto-attack than Vayne does in the first place. So Clarion and Alex Helm already have the advantage in terms of, whoa, actually up in the top lane, the stun from Dispersion, landing onto Pro Skills, he's forced to flash away, and speaking of advantages in laning phase, that's a Pantheon versus Nasus. That's about as one-sided a matchup as you can possibly get, and it is really showing. Ooh, Clarion going in onto the Odd God. He is getting stunned up, getting brought down to about a third health. There's the first blood. Going over to Ezreal, not even burning the flash or the heal from the Odd God. He really didn't expect that damage coming out from Alex Helm. And, of course, Clarion himself on Leona. Leona does offer quite a bit of damage. Her base values are fairly high, and on top of that, her passive is really, really strong, especially when you can proc it over and over again, which an Ezreal can do because of the rapid-fire nature of his abilities. He's able to toss them out very, very quickly. And Alex Helm had a level advantage over Odd God, so he had an extra spell to throw out, and it just turned out that he had a surprising amount of damage, and Odd God was not able to keep himself alive through it. Wixark actually has roamed from the mid lane to help out his friendly jungler do the red buff. It's a little bit odd. Down on the bottom side of the map, FTW Swag does not have flash. The heal was popped by Odd God, but it wasn't going to be enough. Even through the healing, Alex Helm and Clarion have enough damage to bring down another kill on the bottom side of the map, and that is Ezreal taking a huge lead in the early game here. Septel MLG may be coming in to try and repair this lane somewhat, but he's getting bursted down himself. Alex Helm turns around. That is the Aatrox passive burned. Odd God now coming into a huge minion wave is not going to be able to continue on with that chase, despite the fact that Alex Helm doesn't have any mana, and Clarion is actually flashing forward. He's going solo aggressive, forcing the flash away from Aatrox, and then getting onto Odd God right thereafter, but an auto attack, plus the tower shot will spell his doom, as Alex Helm actually spends too long farming some minions, doesn't realize that Odd God is around with a few tumbles and some auto attacks to finish him off and pick up a double kill for himself, evening out the kills in the lane. Not the CS, but it's only a 5 difference, 4 actually now, as we see a few more CS picked up, of course, by Odd God, and that's evening out the lane right there, and Vayne's going to be scaling much, much better into Ezreal. That's the trade-off that this Vayne is getting out of this lane. She doesn't have the early game, as we've seen in all of the 2v2s and the 1v1s. It's been Odd God and Swag giving up the Ghost. However, when they get a bit too aggressive, when they dive under the tower and they don't have the mana or the summoner spells to follow up on that aggression, Clarion and Alex Helm do lose the day and end up giving up a double kill over to the harder scaling Vayne, which really kind of puts a damper on everything that they've managed to achieve so far. But Clarion is not afraid. He's going to keep on going with the aggression here. Very nice binding does land onto Alex Helm, and that is going to be a proc of the Silver Bolts, doing a big chunk of damage. But Odd God is going very, very low, despite the spell shields. A lot of physical damage coming in as well. Now Legit Pro is getting ganked up in the top lane. Second gank of the game for Aatrox as Clarion continues on with his aggression. There's the W. Doesn't quite have the damage. Legit Pro does, though, up in the top lane. And Septa MLG, without his passive this time, does not quite have the resources to be able to pull off the semi-tower dive that he was going for, and gives up the kill. Gina's Irving getting a kill of his own onto WXRK as Oracle Ascended goes down to the minions. He loses the red buff for that. That's got to suck. No, actually, I think you keep buffs through death now, so long as the deaths are not to an enemy player. So he does actually keep the red buff there. Still kind of not a very good thing to get executed in the jungle. It slows down your jungle clear. It can really, really mess with the timing of the game as a whole, because the jungle is all about timing and all about flow and all about finding the right moments to gank a lane and the right moments to be farming. Just finding the right moments, I suppose, in general. And dying in the middle of that can offset the tempo to the point where you can really miss out on some opportunities. And Master Yi really doesn't get too many ganking opportunities early on in the first place. So that's probably going to really slow down Oracle in comparison to Sept MLG. Though, to be fair, Sept MLG has not had the best time of it. His ganks have not proven to be working out for him, and Odd God is getting engaged on by Clarion again. That is such an aggressive bottom lane, aggressive top lane as well. On the other side, though, Dispersion going in onto the Legit Pro skills, and Nasus really has no options early in the game to fight a Pantheon, especially one who has a pickaxe advantage over him. Clarion going in once again. He just sees Vayne and goes at Vayne. And that time, however, there was a spell shield and Vayne was a bit too close to the turrets, so they didn't quite have the ability to follow up on the aggression, but it's been keeping Odd God away from the minions and has resulted in a nearly 10 CS lead for Alex Helm, which is honestly about where he should be in this lane. It's a Ezreal versus Vayne matchup. He already has the laning advantage there, and with such an aggressive and fairly well-played Leona support, it's going to be all the easier for him to keep on the pressure in that lane. And I do want to apologize. I seem to be getting some frame drops here while recording. I don't know if that's going to translate through to the video. Hopefully not, but if it does, I apologize. I don't know why it happens. Sometimes when I record with Fraps, this just happens, and I have tried so many different things to try and fix it. At this point, it's either I give you a video that has a few frame drops here and there, or I don't give you a video at all. And I want to get videos out. I want to practice my shoutcasting. But I digress. We'll get back into the action here. As Alex Helm takes a few auto attacks from Odd God, he's going to be dashing forward with the tumble. However, Alex Helm goes right back away from him with his own gap closer. Now he's going to be popping the heal, trying to survive here. The third proc does connect, but Odd God is going very low himself. He tumbles into the tower range and gives up the kill to Leona, but not before taking down the Ezreal himself. That's going to be shutdown gold going over to Clarion, and now Clarion's going to get stunned up by the chains. There is the binding, going to be finishing off the kill for FTW Swag. 2-for-1 trade rather for Red Team, and puts them in the lead a little bit in terms of gold, only by 100 or 2. But it still is something, and in a game that's been holding so close for pretty much the entirety of the game at this point, getting some sort of lead can start to snowball forwards on and on into a much larger one. This game has really been a matter of individual lanes doing well, though. We haven't seen too much global pressure. Neither of the junglers have been able to really implement themselves anywhere on the map too effectively, as Legit Pro skills actually pops into the ulti, turns around with the Q, but it does get blocked by Dispersion's passive. And this is one of the lanes that's been... Whoa, actually, Wixer might be in some trouble here. Gina's Irving going under the tower, gets hit up by the knockup, then the laser, one more take, does get the kill, and the ignite is not going to be enough to bring Wixer down because he leveled up from the kill that he turned around and got. Beautifully played. I mean, true, he maybe didn't have to be in the range to get hit up by that damage from Vigor in the first place, but he reacted pretty well to it, as Odd God is getting once again engaged on. Clarion now, post level 6, has the Solar Flare, and that's just even more tools at his disposal with which to continue to be incredibly aggressive onto Vayne. And he's just going to keep on being so incredibly aggressive. But speaking of aggressive, we should take a moment, look down at some of the builds as the blue team goes for a dragon, first of the game here, and see that Veigar has decided to go with a Magi Soulstealer, which is a little bit of an odd choice, I'll have to say. He's doing well enough in the lane. He's got a small CS lead of 10 or 11 or so, and he's even on kills with his opponent at 1 kill to 1 kill. I can't really say lead in either direction, but at a 1-to-1 score in the kills. And that's not really the point at which I'd expect someone to be picking up a Magi's. I'd expect someone to pick up a Magi's after they've started to roll a lane, but not really before they've already got to the point where it would just be redundant to pick it up. They're already so far ahead that they don't really need to get that snowballing item because it doesn't have much time to snowball before they just win the game, honestly. But Genis Irving going with a bit of a risky strategy here. It could very well pay off. The earlier you get a Magi's, if you then do really well thereafter, the more value you get out of it, because the sooner it can start stacking up. But we'll get back to that in a second. Nice flash away from the ulti. The Odd God might still be in some trouble here, though. The Q does land from Alex Helm, and he's going to be picking up the kill. Now the Solar Flare connects onto FTW Swag, but he has the Spell Shield just in time to stop any follow-up CC, so it looks like he's going to be able to walk out of there. Actually, maybe not. There's the E connecting. The W doesn't quite have the range, though, and Clarion, he flashes into the tower, but he gets bound up, and he's going to be going down. Nobody manages to do the last little tiny bit of health that FTW Swag had, and a beautiful knock-up from Wixerk will be stopping Aatrox from finishing him off. Oh, Genis Irving coming around behind, though, does get the kill. That is going to be a few stacks on the Magi's for him, but he might be just losing them right thereafter. He's in a lot of trouble. The minion damage, actually, along with a smite from Oracle Ascendant, is going to be finishing off the kill as Legit Pro Skills gets leapt upon once again by Pantheon and taken out. And Legit Pro Skills, speaking of builds and speaking of the Magi's, we should look at some of the other builds as well. We should look at the Nasus' build, more specifically, and be perhaps a little bit critical of it, because he's not built any hit points here, which he's built armor, which is valuable against a Pantheon, certainly, but if he's looking to go a tankier route, he should probably have built some kind of hit points, maybe a Giant's Belt, he could have afforded one of them by now, or a health crystal, not really turn it into anything for a while, just sit on it and then get some armor, because the armor by itself is not going to be enough to stop Dispersion from being able to bring him down, whereas the health and maybe a bit of armor on top of it, just turning half his gold into health and half into armor, would have been enough maybe to save his life a few times here, but the Odd God is going in. He does not have Condemn. Finally, he gets it up, stuns Alex Helm against the wall, but it's going to be way too late for him. Might be enough to save FTW Swag. He's still trying to get away from this. The stun comes up, and there he is, going to be going down to Clarion. And it was a valiant effort, but Alex Helm is just stronger at this point in the game right now. The BF sword and the pickaxe looks like he's going into an Infinity Edge first on Ezreal, which is certainly one of the multiple build options that an Ezreal can go with early on. SeptMLG is getting engaged upon here. Does secure the crab for himself. Clarion just about to steal that away, and actually the exhaust gets dropped onto him. Clarion is going for the 1v1 here. Here comes Wixerk from the mid lane. Alex Helm, though, completely taking the kill for himself. Wixerk not even needed there. He's going to just shoot the ult up the mid lane, and alongside the damage from Leona, manages to pick up the kill as Dispersion is laying on the pressure in the top side of the map. Just not even just the top lane, but the top side of the map entirely. He's got a Ravenous Hydra already completed. That is a huge, huge power spike for Pantheon just right there by itself. And he's bringing it into the enemy jungle, and as you saw, he can nearly instantly burst anyone in the enemy team right now, including Legit Pro Skills. He brings him down very, very slow, very, very low, rather, not very slowly, very quickly, very low, as Clarion is being forced away by the Odd God. Clarion is very, very tanky at this point, though. The upside of all of the aggression he's been putting out is that there have been a lot of kills for both him and his AD carry, and the Odd God went too close to the tower. The minions are gonna have enough damage. Alex Helm is on a rampage thanks to some very, very helpful minions. Dispersion, stolen away the blue buff, gonna turn and try and steal away more of the enemy jungle. Oracle Ascendant finds him out in the jungle again, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to handle this 1-for-1 right now. Wixerk turns around, very nice CC chain, gonna be knocking Dispersion up. There's the Alpha Strike keeping Oracle Ascendant alive just long enough for the kill to go down. Genis gonna be flashing forward onto Wixerk though, and with a nice stun, landing just the edge of it onto Vel'Koz, as well as all of Mighty Vigor's burst, manages to get the kill. Trades 1-for-1, and that's going to be some stacks back onto his Magi's. I think he's still just sitting at 5 right now because he got a kill, died, got another kill, so he's back up to where he started essentially, And there is an event horizon, but the Ezreal ult comes out and does huge burst damage. Aatrox goes down. That is the downside of building a squishy Aatrox build early on. You do die very, very quickly if you do not have your passive up, as we saw right there. An Oracle Ascendant with his smite is going to get the kill onto the enemy Veigar, who again loses the stacks that he just got. He seems to be cursed, unable to hold on to them for very long. And speaking of Aatrox builds, he's just finished off a Ravenous Hydra. That is going to be a fairly large power spike for him, but as I said, building squishy early on Aatrox jungle does mean that you have to be very, very careful. He has so much power from just one simple AD item, the two most popular being a Blade of the Ruined King, because he scales very, very well off of attack speed. He's allowed to get his passive off on his W, be it the damage passive or the lifesteal passive, and just get that off more and more often, which means either more lifesteal in a fight or more damage in a fight, both of which are very, very strong, of course. And the Ravenous Hydra, because it gives so much AD and allows every single strike to hurt more, and then he gets the passive base attack bonus from his passive anyways, so he has good attack speed to make use of that extra AT. Both options are perfectly viable ones, but both options have the downside of leaving you incredibly squishy. As we see, Septim LG is going so low so fast. Just a few spells from Wixerk is enough to bring him down to his passive. However, Wixerk does get turned around on Dispersion is here. He's finally roamed from the top lane. He's applying pressure somewhere else on the board for once, and he's managed to bring Clarion down below half health as well as take out Wixerk. There is Genius Irving getting a few more stacks onto his Magi's with his ulti, doing a huge chunk of damage onto the enemy Leona. Not very much resistances currently on Clarion. He just has a ton of health, and once you've chunked away a bunch of that health, the ulti from Genis does do quite a bit of damage. He's gone with the early Sorcerer's Shoes, so he's got some basic magic penetration right there, and having not built basically, it's only Vel'Koz right now who has any magic resistance items, so those Sorcerer's Shoes are going to be doing a lot of work at this point in the game because it's just base magic resist for the enemies for most of them. Alex Helm gets instantly deleted, though. Genius Irving showing us how that magic pen can be valuable if the enemy team doesn't choose to build much magic resistance. Of course, percentage penetration, not as useful. A Void Staff right now, not that he could have afforded one, but something like a Void Staff that gives that percentage penetration wouldn't have been as valuable. But the basic penetration, the just flat number of penetration, is really, really strong when enemies have not built very much magic resist. Clarion turning around, FTW Swag gets stunned up by the Solar Flare, however, turns around with his own binding and stops Clarion from chasing after him as Wixer gets caught out by the stun. And the red buff as well is on Genis, slowing him up. Odd God is here, and Genius Irving is going to get the kill, while Septim and G, with all that damage that he's built, is able to bring down Leona. Ooh, here comes Oracle Ascendant, though. He has a bunch of burst. He's hitting that power spike with the Yumu's Ghostblade on Master Yi. Manages to pick up the kill onto Vayne, continuing to chase after Genius Irving as long as his ult is up. Highlander is just about to run out. He might be able to make the distance before it does, though, and he does get the Alpha Strike range. One more auto attack as well. Gives him the shutdown and takes away a few of the stacks. I'm a little bit skeptical of the Magi's Soul Stealer build at this point. Irving, Genis has been playing well, certainly. He's been getting kills. He's been able to get some stacks on that item, but he hasn't been playing very safe. He's been going very, very aggressive on Veigar, flashing forward, looking to get kills whenever he gets the chance. And, Dispersion actually gets spotted out by the Will-O-the-Wisp. Oracle Ascendant chases after it, though, and I don't know if he really wanted that fight. Nice Meditate! Blocks out the spear that would have been his end, and so he's going to head on back home to base, and he'll be able to live to fight another day, as Alex Helm, Clarion, and Wixerk are all here to try and stop Dispersion from taking this blue buff. I think he might have taken on a bit more than he can handle here. He's going to be going down! Wixerk finishing off the kill as the blue buff goes over to Oracle Ascendant, who came back just to try and take back his own buff. The Odd God might be caught out in the jungle here. I don't know where he's going. FTW Swag gets engaged upon there as Oracle Ascendant. I don't know that Odd God can actually take this fight. The Alpha Strike, the knockup, Wixerk has the damage, and Odd God is gone. That was a bit too much for him right there. He bit off more than he could chew, certainly, roaming into the enemy jungle kind of all alone like that. But if it had worked out, it would have been pretty great. FTW Swag being taken out by Oracle Ascendant is off to the side. Genius Irving does manage to take down a kill, but not before he falls himself. Double kill for Master Yi as Ezreal picks up one of his own. That is a double kill. He does go down post-mortem, actually, from the Ignite. Actually, not the Ignite. What is it? Was it I think it might have been a dark matter that fell even after Veigar died, because Veigar did die before Ezreal went down, so I suppose it was a dark matter that he had cast right before he died, and then it fell and killed the Ezreal even after his death, but it does mean he managed to pick up a double kill. And one of the funny things about a Magi's, I know I'm harping on it a few times, but this is an interesting point. If you get a kill after you die, then you get those stacks after the stacks have been removed, so you don't lose stacks from that particular kill. So if you're going to get a kill and going to die for it, it's best to die and then get the kill, if you can somehow make that happen while you have a Magi's. It's a very difficult thing to orchestrate, but when it happens entirely by accident, which seems to have happened with Gene Irving here, or Genius Irving rather, that means that it ends up being, that kill being that tiny bit more valuable for him than maybe it could have been. And I think that's an Aetherwisp in Legit Pro Skills' inventory. Yeah, that's an Aetherwisp. That's an interesting item for Nasus to pick up. He does have a few AP ratios, so I suppose maybe we'll be seeing an AP Nasus this game. That'll be interesting. Very interesting if we do get to see it. Alex Helm getting stunned up at the event horizon does manage to shift away, flashes away as well. Looks like he's going to be able to escape from Dispersion. And Gene is here. Dispersion then turning around with his stun onto Wixerk. Wixerk forced to flash away. Very nice. Solar Flare lands onto 3. Here comes the laser as well. Dispersion's going very, very low. Aatrox has already been knocked into his passive Legit Pro Skills with that AP. Nasus is coming from the side for the double kill. Pops into his ulti, and he's going to be taking down Gene Irvis as well. Actually, Oracle comes in for the last little bit there, and he turns around with the smite onto Dispersion. Actually, one auto attack is blocked, another auto attack is blocked. Finally, he gets the kill and turns around onto Oddgod. Oddgod turns around, the heal, just enough to keep him alive and get him the shutdown gold. That'll be really, really helpful for him. Alex Helm, though, is here. One cursory Q, and he picks up the kill. He picks up the ace, and blue team, despite the fact that they just aced red, despite the fact that a lot of their solo lane, a lot of their champions seem ahead in so many ways. Master Yi certainly doing much, much better than Aatrox right now. There's no arguing that. Ezreal, you could say that Vayne is going to have a chance later on in the game to outscale this Ezreal. Certainly, she's not so far behind that isn't a very realistic hope for Red Team, but right now Ezreal is at a much higher power spike than Vayne is. The Infinity Edge is just stronger at this point in the game than the Blade of the Ruined King, even post its most recent nerfs. And he's building into a Triforce, which once he completes that is going to be much more of a power spike than what seems to be a Quicksilver Sash into maybe a Yumu's that's coming out from Vayne. I'm not entirely sure. The double longsword does seem to indicate a Brutalizer, and the Yumu's Ghostblade is, while not the most standard Vayne build, certainly one that we've seen a few Vaynes go before. Dispersion, though, up in the top line, getting knocked up, might actually get engaged upon by Clarion right thereafter. Ezreal is following up. Maybe, no, he's back at the base. I'm not quite sure why I mentioned his name, but Genius Irving is getting engaged upon. Wixerk is going to bring down that kill as Dispersion gets hit up by the very tail end of the laser. MLG coming in from the side, but he's so squishy. This is what I was talking about. Sept MLG choosing to go with nearly a full Aatrox damage build has brought himself to the ground here in this fight. Legit Pro Skills, though, AP Nasus not exactly the best to 1v2 with. He's going to be going down as well. FTW Swag coming in to maybe help Dispersion clean up these kills in Clarion. Finally, Alex Helm is here. He's come from the base, and he's going to be dashing in, getting himself the cleanup double kill that he so rightfully deserves at this point. As Oracle Ascendant solos the dragon off the other side of the map. He wasn't around for the fight, but he didn't really need to be around for the fight, as he was off doing useful things for the team somewhere else, picking up, I believe, that is the second dragon of the game for blue team. Because they did get the one earlier that was the duo of just him and Clarion on the Clarion? It's hard to tell exactly how that should be pronounced, but him and Leona, who are just off doing the duo dragon themselves. Master Yi, very, very strong for taking early dragons, and well, also very, very strong, even stronger one could say, for taking dragons later on in the game. A master, really, of single target damage. Oracle Ascendant going into Oddgod here. Oddgod turns around, tumbling into Final Hour, but Wixerk is around for the backup as well. Here comes Dispersion, ulting him with the Grand Skyfall. Wixerk is going to be going down. No, actually, that was Oracle Ascendant who fell. Wixerk now probably going to be going down fairly soon as Dispersion continues on with the chase, the knockup. He actually turns around. He has the laser up as well. Wixerk has the damage. Beautiful skill shots, landing a very well-timed knockup. I think he knocked him out of his shield jump, stopped himself from being stunned, and secured himself a kill in a 1v1 there. I really, really thought Wixerk was going to go down. I didn't think he had it in him to turn around and take that kill, but proving me wrong, he turns around, he brings down the Pantheon, and he's going to head on back home to base. Actually, turns and fires a shot at FTW Swag there, but he's going to head on back home to base, pick up some items, and speaking of items, speaking specifically of Wixerk's items, he's got a Void Staff, which is a little bit of an oddity. I'm surprised to see that so early. Genius Irving is getting engaged on here, though. Clarion is going to keep on going with the chase. Sept MLG is going to be in some trouble. Genius Irving gets instantly burst out by the Alpha Strike as Sept MLG goes down for the double kill. Master Yi coming in for the backup, and he has hit a huge power spike right now. Master Yi is starting to do tons of work. Legit pro skills turning around. The AP Nasus has some good damage onto Oddgod, but he is not able to take on the 1v2. Oddgod turns around, takes him out, and tries to escape on through the jungle here. Clarion does not have ult, so I don't think he's going to be able to actually chase them down, as Wixerk, this time not landing the knock-up, does have to flash away from Pantheon. And Clarion gets hit by the binding. That's probably going to spell the end of all hopes of catching up to this duo right now, as Oddgod tumbles away just for good measure and heads on back home to base. Q does not quite land from Wixerk, and knock-up does, though, so looks like he's going to be able to keep on kiting Dispersion, and actually here comes Alexhelm from the side. Dispersion does manage to bring down Wixerk, and Alexhelm dashed on in with the Arcane Shift just to get there, but there's the Solar Flare from Clarion. Flash in from Genius Irving, though. The exhaust has been dropped, so he doesn't do very much damage onto Alexhelm. Turns around with the W, though, and Alexhelm didn't move because he was channeling his ult. Genius Irving takes out a solo kill by himself against two people. Here comes the Aatrox, and there goes the Aatrox. Double kill for Master Yi as Oracle Ascendant is starting to do so much work in these team fights. It seems like he just shows up at the end of every fight and cleans up a double kill, maybe even a triple. Going under the tower here, he is unstoppable. He's going to turn onto that, to the Oddgod, and pick up another double kill, as I said, coming into the ends of fights and cleaning up double kills. That seems to be this Master Yi's job, and he's been doing it quite well and fairly often, surprisingly often, actually. He's managed to pick up 3 double kills in the course of the last 4 or 5 minutes. Clarion continues to push in. He doesn't have Master Yi with him, which is a little bit odd. I would have expected Oracle Ascendant to continue the push in the mid lane. Master Yi very, very good at taking out turrets. And Clarion on Leona, not quite so good at taking them out. Especially when Dispersion chooses to leap in onto him with the Grand Skyfall. So, just going to be Leona walking on out of there as Pantheon comes in to deter her from actually taking out the tower. And yeah, it's a little surprising that Master Yi decided to go and do some counter jungling rather than actually taking out the mid lane turret. Probably going to slow down this game a little bit. Blue team has pulled into the lead somewhat, but they're still at a deficit in terms of turrets. They only have 1 turret outside of their base. That's down on the bottom side of the map. And Legit Pro Skills, speaking of the bottom side of the map, is caught out here by Genius Irving, turns around, and actually the Spirit Fire does a ton of damage. I suppose that is where the power of an AP Nasus lies, that and the Lich Bane Qs, but Genius Irving turns around, and the ult from Veigar, which scales off of enemy AP, usually does a huge chunk of damage, even to a Nasus. Now it's going to be even doing more of a huge chunk of damage, especially to the Nasus, because for some reason, Nasus has a bunch of AP, and so he's made himself a good target for the Veigar ult. He has no magic resistance, he has a bunch of AP. Veigar's probably going to be wanting to ult him, oddly enough. Oracle Ascendant is godlike here, as Sept MLG continues to push in the top lane, popping the Aatrox ult for the extra attack speed, and continuing to pound in onto that inhibitor turret. He's going to actually bring it down. Nobody's there to stop him, as Oracle Ascendant is busy counter jungling in the enemy red buff. Shutdown going over to Pantheon, as Aatrox flashes and dashes away to get on out of there. Wixerk and Alexhelm both hit up by the Blades of Torment. Not going to be able to continue on with his chase, and Aatrox will be able to escape with his life after taking out the inhibitor turret. Tried to go in and get the inhibitor as well, but too much of a response from blue team at that point, so he wasn't quite able to bring down that objective, but still perfectly worth it. I think they gave up a kill in mid lane in return for that objective, as Clarion turns around. The Solar Flare very nicely lands onto the Oddgod and Dispersion. The Oddgod goes down nearly instantly as Alexhelm has finished off his Trinity Force, so he has a big power spike right now, but Dispersion does enough damage and has enough resistance to be able to continue on with this fight. Wixerk comes from the side, though, and Dispersion has no magic resistance. He goes down very, very low. The laser is off target, though, finally turns around. Clarion manages to get the kill with the Sunfire burn, as Sept MLG is here alongside Genius, and Nasus stands no chance. As I said, for some reason, this Veigar does a huge burst of damage to Nasus. It's just because his build is so odd and out there. For the win, Swag goes down to the double kill from Oracle Ascendant. The Aatrox passive is popped as well. Triple kill for Master Yi, cleaning up over and over and over again. And then running into the jungle and killing jungle monsters over and over and over again. He seems to like to kill champions and to kill jungle monsters. To be fair, at this point, mid lane was really pushed up against him. Top lane as well, and bottom lane couldn't really get there in time to make any sort of proper push happen. So the dragon was the right call at this point, but I've seen him in the jungle a few times now, going for some somewhat questionable invades when actually this one, maybe not so questionable. Oracle Ascendant is on a rampage with an absolutely monstrous crit. The Infinity Edge on top of the Static Shiv, which, by the way, not only gives you extra crit chance, so makes you crit more often, the magic damage from the Static Shiv can actually crit in and of itself and do, well, extra magic damage. And then that can be affected by the Infinity Edge. So a crit, while you have an IE Static Shiv, does huge tons of burst, especially on Master Yi, who just has so much attack damage in the first place, as Genius Irving finds him out. And Master Yi, while doing tons of damage right now, certainly does not have very many hit points to back it up. And if he's caught out, if he's stunned up, Veigar is able to burst him down, especially with that Deathfire Grasp that he has sitting so pretty in his inventory. Flash forward from Dispersion, lots of damage on Alex Helm. He's forced to flash away as Dispersion continues on, maybe with the chase, actually popping into the Grand Skyfall, the leap on behind him. And then comes back down. There's Clarion, though, turning around onto FTW Swag. Sept MLG is in the bush for the backup. There's the laser from Vel'Koz, does get the kill onto Morgana. Dispersion now turning onto Wixark. There's the knockup landing. The Ezreal ult comes, flies a little bit wide to the side. However, Wixark with the very nicely placed knockup does keep himself alive, as Dispersion might be in some trouble here. Clarion's going to keep on chasing after him. The Zenith Blade will be up very shortly. He might be able to catch him around this corner here. Dispersion actually tries to juke back, but runs into the stun anyways, and here is Alex Helm. He turns around. He's realized he's not getting out of this one, turns around to try and do as much damage as he can to try and pick up the kill, and actually manages to do so. He is so tanky right now with the Sunfire and the Thornmail and the Frozen Heart and the Ninja Tabby. I mean, the amount of armor that Dispersion is carrying around in his inventory, he could outfit a whole troop of soldiers with all of that armor, and, well, he's just one soldier, so I don't know exactly how he's wearing all of it, but however he's doing it, it's proving effective, and he did not go down to Alex Helm. In fact, actually, the turnaround damage from the Thornmail, along with the Sunfire Cape, proved too much for Alex Helm, and he went down. Now Genius Irving is getting engaged upon here. Actually turns around with the Primordial Burst. That alone does enough damage to take away half of Vel'Koz's hit points. He goes down in the end, but it's a trade of a 1-for-1, and now at this point, since he no longer has the Magi's, he's instead opted to go for more just pure AP items in the form of really the big three, the Deathfire Grasp, the Zhonya's, and the Death Cap. He no longer has a penalty from taking a 1v1 like that. He's perfectly fine with doing it, as Clarion is going to keep on chasing after the Odd God, and it seems like Leona is the one who has to clean up all of these kills. Gets the double kill, actually. Just as I say that, Clarion and legit pro skills 2v2ing here. Double kill coming out for Leona as Alex Helm continues to farm the jungle, take out the blue buff, and we have a bit of a quieter moment on the map. We might be able to see blue team go for some sort of objective push at this point. Alex Helm is hanging around the Baron buff, but it looks like legit pro skills and Clarion want to push up the top lane, and I don't know if they're really going to be able to do that. There's been too many members of Red Team respawning at this point, as Genius Irving is back in the lane along with Dispersion, and they're certainly enough to keep two members of blue team from pushing up the turret. And they're going to go and maybe check in on the Baron buff, because that is something which blue team might actually have set up for and gone for at this point. Dispersion did get a ward over the wall, so it looks like we might see a bit of a Baron dance, ladies and gents. Oracle Ascendant hanging around in that area did manage to take the Speed Shrine for himself, and actually popping the Umos goes in onto Genius. Very nicely placed. Very, very nicely placed Event Horizon from Genius. Keeps himself safe, stunning him up as soon as he comes out of the Alpha Strike, and he's going to be going down for it here. Clarion actually might not have the damage to finish him off. The Event Horizon goes up, but Clarion with the Sunfire Cape is dominating at this point. Dispersion going to be going down to Alex Helm as well, and FTW Swag will fall right thereafter. And If it weren't for the fact that Dispersion and FTW swag fell, that would have been perfectly fine, trading the jungler for the mid laner at that point, especially because Master Yi is so strong right now, but this is just snowballing into kill after kill. Blue team's starting to take the real lead here. The Odd God does get a revenge kill onto Vel'Koz, but that is an ace for blue team. Baron is up, and while they don't have a jungler, there's no one on red team alive. There's no reason for them not to start this. Clarion and Alex Helm will start it off here. Legit pro skills can come in from the side and tank it up. I mean, he's gone with a bit of an odd Nasus build. He's got a needlessly large rod as inventory. He's very much committed to the AP Nasus at this point. So I don't know actually how much of a tanking force he's going to be against this Baron. But Clarion is certainly very tanky, has a Sunfire on top of a GA, and here we have Oracle Ascendant coming in as well. Alex Helm, for some reason, has decided to go sit off in a bush. He doesn't want to participate in this. He's very, very low in health, doesn't want to accidentally get hit by some AoE from the Baron and go down, and the rest of his team was able to handle it. As I said, no one from red team was even alive at that point, let alone the jungler, to contest it, so looks like Blue's going to get the first Baron of the game, head on back home to base, buy a few items, and then come out onto the battlefield once again and see where they can maneuver, see exactly where they might be able to make their next move. Could be Dragon. Dragon is going to be up in 30 seconds or so. They have the advantage right now. I mean, Baron doesn't do what it used to do, doesn't give that bonus during team fights. It's more of a pushing and objective taking sort of buff at this point, but they just have the gold lead and the kill lead in general. I mean, they have a 22 kill Master Yi. That is a horrible, horrible threat to go up against, especially with so many squishies on the side of red. Master Yi actually giving up entirely on the Veigar kill. He knows his team can handle that, continues to chase after Vayne, and kills off the Odd God in a 1-2 strike there as legit pro skills. Split pushing up in the top lane has distracted red team so much. I mean, he's probably going to be going down here as the exhaust is dropped onto him. He does indeed fall in the end. Dispersion has the damage there, but the rest of the team was off doing the dragon, and they traded 1-for-1 across the board. 2-for-1 actually. Numbers are hard. 2-for-1 across the board, 2 going to blue and 1 going to red. But the dragon went to blue as well. That is their 4th dragon of the game, I believe. And there is FTW Swag getting caught out on his way back from top lane. Blue team is continuing to push up the mid lane here. I don't see any way that red can realistically defend this inhibitor turret. Here comes Pantheon. Grand Skyfall coming in. He does clear out a bunch of the minions. However, they don't really need the minions. They have so much tankiness just in the form of this Leona. That is an insanely tanky Leona, and she has a GA on top of all of those tank stats. Does get stunned up under the tower. The Oracle Ascendant is going to be going down to Gina Zerving, while down to the bottom side of the map, we have a little bit of frame loss, but that was a kill going over to both sides, actually. Traded 1-for-1 down there as Leona goes with a dive up on the top side. Gina Zerving has managed to survive through all this, goes down in the end to the shield pop from Leona, who's going to keep on pushing all by her lonesome, acing red team, and taking out the first inhibitor turret. I don't know, maybe Clarion is going to be able to win the game right here. Doesn't have very many minions, though, and doesn't look like she's going to be able to. FTW Swag keep on going forward. Actually, might look for a catch here into Clarion. I don't know that Clarion should be this aggressive right now. The rest of red team is going to be respawning fairly soon. Dispersion will be up in 5 seconds, but Clarion has so much damage. How is this Leona hurting so much? VG Clarion gets the ace again, and is going to be reviving from the Guardian Angel. Dispersion flashes forward, but Clarion is so insanely tanky that he's barely touching her. I mean, look at that. That spear flew in and didn't even look like it hit. I didn't even see the health bar go down. That is a very, very tanky Leona that somehow was doing enough damage to 100-0 Morgana as well. So well done by Clarion so far. Been playing an incredibly aggressive, incredibly effective Leona play. And we might see a bit more of it as the game goes on, because it doesn't look like blue team actually has won out the day yet, but they do have an inhibitor down in the mid lane. They have super minions rushing up mid. They've got a Nexus turret already fallen. They only have 1 more to burn through. And blue team is most decisively in the lead right now. Red team is grouping in mid, though. They might want to go for some kind of team fight. I don't know if they'd really want to do that, though. The odd thing is, especially with Nasus building AP, red team has the better late game, but Oracle Ascendant, whoa, actually he's going way too aggressive here under the Nexus turret. The laser is going to bring him down. FTW Swag with a very, very nice binding locks him up. I was just going to say that Oracle Ascendant has been playing a incredibly scary Master Yi leaping in onto people and just nearly instantly chunking them down, but he still can't handle a base laser, or not a base laser I suppose, a Nexus turret laser for that long, as Clarion, while tanky, can't handle 3 members of the enemy team for that long, especially not a Vayne doing those chunks of true damage. And if blue team continues to give up picks like this, I don't know if they're going to really be able to capitalize on their lead. Wixer might be AFK. Yeah, I believe that Vel'Koz right now is AFK. This is unfortunate. It does happen sometimes. These are solo queue games that I get sent, so I cannot always guarantee that everyone will always be connected for the entirety of the match. I do stipulate in the emails that the matches cannot have a lengthy disconnect, so we'll be seeing Wixer get back into the game hopefully fairly soon, but it was a bit disappointing that he lost his Guardian Angel there. That actually might be something of a big deal, but we'll have to just deal with that. I apologize, and let's get right back into the cast of the game. Try not to have too many interruptions. Speaking of Guardian Angel, Leona's is down now as well, but Master Yi's is not, and Oracle Ascendant has been doing so much work that Oracle Ascendant plus a Guardian Angel is terrifying. He's going in for a 4v1 here, though. Alex Helm is there off the backside, but the GA has been popped, and he didn't manage to bring anybody down. He's just going to be instantly burst as soon as he comes out of it. Gina Zerving picking up the kill on Alex Helm's ult, while it chunks Oddgod down very low, did not manage to bring anybody down. And so Dispersion, Genis, and Oddgod are going to push up the mid lane, make easy short work of the minions, while SeptMLG continues with his split pushing tactics. He's doesn't even really care about Leona on him. He's just going to keep on pounding on the inhibitor turret. Does have to leap away in the end, but while that was happening, while Leona was distracted by dealing with him, Dispersion and Oddgod managed to take down the mid lane turret. Alex Helm is here along with Clarion to try and bring down Dispersion. He is going very low, very quickly, especially to the magic damage from Vel'Koz. He has no magic resistance at all, so he goes down fairly quickly when that Vel'Koz is involved in the fights, as SeptMLG gets bursted out while he's trying to take out an inhibitor cheekily off to the side. He does go down, Clarion picking up that kill in the end. Alex Helm brings down Veigar, and blue team, I would have to say that they actually lost out in that trade. I mean, they managed to clean up more kills than they gave up, most definitely after that, but it wasn't really about kills. That particular trade was about the fact that they managed to bring down an inhibitor. And an inhibitor turret in the mid lane. I mean, that turret's now gone forever. The inhibitor might eventually respawn if the game goes on long enough, but the inhibitor turret is gone forever. That is a permanent lead on the map right there, and really those 3 kills that they gave up for it, blue team can't do anything with that. There's nothing of great importance that blue team is going to be able to do with that. We've already reached the point where nearly everyone is just about finishing their 6th item, except maybe the AP Nasus, but that's a bit of a special case, I would have to say. Oracle Ascendant and Clarion are at the Baron. They might be able to start that one off. And yeah, they've already brought it down to half health. Oracle Ascendant does huge damage to single targets. As I said earlier, that is what a Master Yi does, and this Master Yi is doing it incredibly well this game there. Over the wall, Clarion going to be using the ulti as well to hold up FTW Swag. FTW Swag pops the chains, but then there's a flash over the wall from Oracle Ascendant. The Zhonya is just going to be delaying the inevitable, as one more auto attack from Oracle Ascendant finishes off the kill onto Morgana. And the red buff is gone in literally 3 auto attacks. That is a terrifying amount of damage. Alex Helm and Oracle Ascendant going to push up the mid lane. The inhibitor is open here. They don't even need a minion wave. They are actually up against super minion waves, so they have super minion waves pushing up the mid lane. That's something they're going to have to deal with as Oracle Ascendant gets leapt upon here. SeptMLG jiving right in onto the enemy carries. Clarion on the back lines does not have any backup, as Alex Helm's going to be falling as well, and Clarion, despite his best efforts, will just be going down. Pops into the Guardian Angel, but it's just kind of delaying the inevitable. Gets stunned backwards against the wall. The Oddgod picks up a killing spree. And Pantheon is in the enemy base right now. Dispersion, Sky falling in. Actually, no, that was a teleport in. Is going to keep on pushing, turns around, leaps onto Legit. Legit Pro Skills is actually not being able to bring Dispersion down very quickly. He's down below half hit points before he even pops the Guardian Angel. He didn't use the Deathfire Grasp, nor did he use Spirit Fire. A little bit of an odd choice from the AP Nasus there, but everything about an AP Nasus is odd. Wixer takes down the kill onto Dispersion. And it looks like we're going to return to yet another stalemate. Neither of these teams, we're 45 minutes in, and neither of these teams has been able to break the other's defenses to the point where victory could yet be achieved. And they didn't actually manage to take down the inhibitor in mid lane. They didn't manage to do it. They just about nearly took it out, but it has a few hundred hit points left, and of course, because it is an inhibitor, it's going to be regenerating those hit points. So Odd God takes away the dragon, and that's Super Minion advantage in the mid lane, and Super Minion advantage really on the board entirely for red team, since blue team doesn't have any Super Minions with which to push. Baron buff is on blue, so that kind of counters it out whenever there's a blue team member in mid lane, because the Baron buff to minions is about as powerful overall as a Super Minion pushing in that lane. So with pretty much any blue team member in the mid lane, it's going to be about even pressure there from the minions, but that requires a blue team member to be in mid lane, whereas the Super Minion pressure is entirely free for red team. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to have anyone allocated to that area. They can spread their resources where they need them and just have that pressure in their back pocket whenever they need it. Right now, of course, they do have people in the mid lane, since blue team is making a concerted push. They've taken out the inhibitor, and now they have that free pressure as well, and they're going to have it for a lot. Well, not a lot longer, it's the same duration either side, but they're going to have it a lot later into the game here, since they got it a bit later. Dispersion now going down to half health as he tries to engage a fight, does manage to bring down Oracle Ascendant, and that is a big kill, but I don't know how worth it it's going to be for red team. Alex Helm is getting engaged on by the Odd God, but he gets knocked up, and that is a double kill for Alex Helm, and his GA has not even yet been popped. Still hasn't been popped. The laser is not on him long enough to take it down. Sept MLG trying to get a kill back, maybe. Even if he had brought him down, I don't think he would have been able to actually take him out, because the GA, of course, is still up for Alex Helm. And there was a lot of peel coming out from Wixerk. Both of them, actually, still have their GA up. And they're going to turn and they're going to burn onto the Nexus turret. They do bring it down. Alex Helm gets popped into his GA in trade for it, and it looks like he's going to be going down as well. Flash forward from Genius. Wixerk flashes away in response, turns around with a Q, which then gets Zhonya's out, as legit pro skills is here already running in his Nasus ulti to try and save the day. Goes in with the Spirit Fire, does a big chunk of damage. That is in AP Nasus, the Deathfire, Grasp, and the Death Cap. His E will chunk away about a quarter of someone's hit points, but it's not going to be enough. And it looks like blue team, despite the fact that they just got an inhibitor and 2 Nexus turrets, and I believe even traded up in kills, is not going to be able to take down the Nexus, and red team manages to hold on with their last gasp at this point in the game. Neither side yet, well, obviously, since I'm still talking, neither side yet being able to close out the match here. But we should take a moment, we should look at some of the builds now that they're reaching just about endgame status. Veigar has just finished off an Abyssal Scepter, which is quite a nice buy, I would have to say, with a double AP comp over on the other side. That's going to be helping him out quite a lot. He's just gone with some fairly standard AP items overall, aside from the Abyssal Scepter and the Detour earlier on into the Magi's Soul Stealer. Other than that, he's just gone raw damage, and he is looking to burst people down, which really is playing to Veigar's strengths, so more power to him, really, and he's going to get a lot more power. He turns around and he actually has the damage to bring Oracle Ascendant down, and that is what I was talking about. He can 1-2 shot pretty much anybody over on blue team, aside maybe from Leona right now, and Leona really doesn't have to be 1-2 shot. It's kind of Oracle Ascendant that's the big threat, and he's been taken out of the fight here. Clarion and Wixerk, though, are doing their best to kite away Dispersion and FTW Swag, and actually Clarion manages to bring down Swag as Dispersion leaps onto Alex Helm, but he does not have very much damage. Pantheon does not do much damage later on in the game, especially if he's built as tanky as Dispersion has. As a legit pro, goes for the 1v1 with Odd God, but Odd God kites him around, knocks him back, and does quite a good job of keeping himself away from the threat of that Lichbane Q, and manages to win the 1v1. However, in the mid lane, red team did not win that particular skirmish. Clarion, Alex Helm, and Wixerk, all with their lives still intact, are going to push up the mid lane, take out the minions pretty effectively, and they have 2 super minions to back them up. There are no turrets here to stop them. The E goes very wide from Wixerk as Odd God tries his best to kite away, does manage to tumble away from the Solar Flare. However, Alex Helm doesn't even bother. He has no reason to chase Odd God right now. Clarion can keep him distracted. Doesn't matter if Clarion even kills him, because Alex Helm is going for the Nexus, and the Nexus is going to die very, very soon unless Genius can do something about it. There's the Ezreal, there's the E from Vel'Koz. Does give up the kill in return for it, but that's a small price to pay for victory as Alex Helm takes out the 50 gold, takes out the Nexus. Thank you all for watching. My name is Octavian, and I will see you next time.